Hello there! In this video, I will introduce you to a fabric that is weird to sew. It's called shield fabric or barrier fabric. But first, this is my collection of utility fabrics over the years, many of which I have used and sewn. Sometimes I make one video talking about one fabric. Shield fabric is one that is worth knowing. Please stick around as I introduce you to a fabric that not many users or sewers know about. This is the fabric I'm talking about. I found out that this fabric is both plastic and knit. Later, I'm gonna get to the sewing part of this fabric. This started out as a problem of mine I wanted to solve. When I wash dishes, I don't like to get my clothes wet with water splatter. I have used cotton aprons before and it just couldn't do it. I also used a vinyl type of apron before, but the water would just slide down. I needed a better solution. Then I found this shield fabric, or sometimes called barrier fabrics, and wow, what a great idea to fix my own problem. What is this fabric for? There was an instruction sheet to this fabric which I bought at Michael's. However, I lost the instructions. Might as well, because that was sort of useless, according to me. Better finish this video as I may have more input for you. It's a fabric that will shield moist or water. It is a little cousin to a fabric called PUL fabric. Let's compare. This is a PUL fabric, branded as Babyville. Totally waterproof. This is used to sew as an alternative to disposable diapers. You can sew washable diapers using this product. Here I will put a picture of an image of my older project for this fabric. I sewed a bag of gravel and I used it to hold down the giant duck so it won't fly away by the wind. It totally worked. Now there is a product called Protective Plano. I also made a video about this. I call it P-pad fabric. This fabric is also different from the shield fabric because even though it deflects water, the material is actually made of PVC. It's actually plastic, maybe 10-ounce plastic, and they coated it with a plano top and bottom. Now I have used this fabric many times for our old cat before and an old dog who couldn't make it to the outside to do their business. Also very useful for a new puppy. It saved us a lot of money from buying disposable pee pads. A lot of hospice also use this product for older people who couldn't make it to the bathroom. You can wash this and it can be used over and over again. You can sew the edge or leave it alone, but it's kind of thick to sew the corner intersection, by the way. So compared to the shield fabric, this Protective Plano fabric is a lot stiffer and sturdier. So comparing the three, the PUL fabric, the Protective Plano fabric or P-pad, and the shield fabric. The shield fabric is a lot more pliable, softer, and stretchier. And that is a problem. And I'll tell you that in a bit. What is this fabric really for? This is for water or moist protection. Light duty, say for mattress, pillow, furniture, bed, toddler beds, crib, or bassinets. You can use this to any project that needs custom fitting. You can also use this as a liner if you're making a home-sewn lunch bag or a traveling bag. This is good for pouch bags to avoid spillage of your shampoo or toothpaste when you're traveling. This is also a good fabric for down or ticking pillow materials. The reason is it will prevent the feathers or down from poking out of your pillow. I do not recommend you sewing a full queen size or king size bed sheet cover and sew this material from scratch. Why? It's too cumbersome to sew. It will not save you money and might as well buy a ready-to-go product. This fabric is very difficult to sew, and the smaller the project is, the better your life will be. This is my own personal use project, but I am not happy with the first result. I did a terrible job at sewing this shield fabric the first time. I have been wanting to redo this, so filming this is an afterthought really. Why not bring the camera when I sew my second one, and some of you can learn something about this weird fabric. I have made this project months ago, and this is a case study of mine. I have used and washed this bib apron also many times. Needless to say, my first experience with this fabric was terrible because no one could have prepared me how to sew this fabric. The instruction was not helpful at all. Can you see the bubble? This is because the fabric is a combination of plastic and tricot stretch net. It is a problem to sew for what I want it to be. The shield fabric has its own mind. 2 minds, maybe 3 minds. Who knows? Sewing plastic means the presser dog has a harder time moving it, while sewing stretchy knit fabric also means you need both the sewing foot and the feed dog to be happy, meaning right stitch, right tension, pressure, cadence of the pedal. You can play with your machine settings to sew this. Your first experience will be a learning one. To sew this, it requires also extra mindfulness. Just pay attention. As you can see, when I got to the bottom, I do not have an even fabric here. I have to unstitch the whole thing and release some of the air or bubbles. Again, I have to unstitch this. The fabric is just weird. Anyway, for such a simple small project, what a problem fabric to sew. And since I have used the first project for months now, you can't really see it from this video, but there are two different textures to this fabric. You're supposed to sew on the fuzzy side. I found out that that instruction didn't even matter at all. The fabric has a stretch. It is droopy and slinky. And it also is plasticky and it slides for some reason. To stabilize the sewing of this fabric, it needs a stable non-stretch fabric so it feeds correctly. Otherwise, I suppose you can remedy this by using a walking foot. But for what I am doing, my remedy is just to use a stable fabric to stabilize the feeding of the fabric top and bottom. And it worked out for what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm using the towel bottom down, touching the feed dog. It is much better this way. The first project, I followed the instruction. I did it so weirdly, it resulted in bad sewing. Anyway, this seems to be the better way to sew this fabric. Now I'm going to show you what happens if I sew where the shield fabric is on the bottom, touching the feed dog. Now you can see the fabrics are not matching up on the bottom. I have to unstitch this and do it all over again. The reason for this is the machine did not like the textures of both fabrics. Both the towel and the shield fabric are behaving differently under the sewing foot. A machine with a dual foot system would probably help this problem, but most of us do not have it. I have to unstitch because the fabric is slippery. Yes, you can wash this in the washing machine and dry it with your regular dryer. However, it can affect or increase the bubble or air, or call it what you want, in between the two fabrics. It's just weird. I think the washing machine's wringing action stretches out the fabric, and the dryer action can increase the air inside, or the heat may have loosened up the fibers. I don't know. Anyway, I will not stress too much on making this too perfect, because over time the fabric will expand or stretch out. It's bizarre. Do I want to top stitch this project? Nope. I'm scared I will see bubbles again. It's fine for now. I like the second attempt better now. Nothing fancy. It's just to wash dishes. What do you call this? Dishwasher bib? Bib prawn? Glorified kitchen towel? All I know is I fixed my dishwashing problem. I do not have water all over my waistline when I wash dishes. Did it work for me? Absolutely. I love the result. It's important to use a towel for this project to absorb the water splatter, but you can use any cotton. I figure out the mystery behind this fabric. I hope I enlightened some of you on how to sew this fabric if you ever encounter this. Do I recommend you sew this fabric? Not really. Maybe. If the project is small, it may behave better. You be the judge. If you're sewing this as a standalone, fitted crib sheet for a toddler maybe, I can see this as a good case scenario. The elastic will hide the imperfections. Now time to show this to our animals.
What's that got to do with my snack?